Well, we're sitting here with Jeremiah and Mandy Shultz. A couple of weeks ago, Mandy called and wanted to dedicate their children to the Lord, and from that, I asked if they would just share their story with us. I know a little bit about it, but would like for everyone to hear a little bit of their story. So, guys, I want to let you just kind of tell us about your journey with Christ.
Around 2014, Mandy and I met. Eventually, when we started dating more seriously, she moved back to Maryville, and around that time, I had kind of lost my way with Christ, honestly. I grew up in a Catholic home. Things that Catholics did, I did, the reconciliation, the confirmation, I was raised by my grandparents. She had us involved in all kinds of activities, wanting to keep us busy, and church was one of those things. I never really felt like it's what I wanted to do, honestly. It always kind of felt forced.
Our family is blended, so Jeremiah has 2 children from a previous marriage, and I had a son from a previous relationship as well. So we both had children in the mix, and that was always kind of important to us, was to raise them as a family, because Jeremiah wasn't raised by his parents. My parents were divorced from a young age, so we kind of had broken homes kind of background. I always knew in my heart, obviously, that I wanted to be a mom, but I wanted my kids to have like a healthy upbringing. If that wasn't with their mom and their dad in the same home, I felt like there was still a pull to make it a healthy home for them to grow up in. And so that's always just really been a deep calling in my heart. In 2017, we actually got pregnant with Keaton, who was our first child together, but we ended up having him prematurely. He was born at 30 weeks, weighing only 2 pounds. It was a very emergent situation. He spent 77 days in the NICU, and we were driving back and forth every single weekend to be with him. So that was very traumatic, but it was also from that brokenness that I found my way back to God, because I prayed for that baby, that he would be healthy and he would grow up to be a part of our family. And looking at him now, you would never know where he started. So once we had Keaton, we still kind of weren't living really a life for Christ, just kind of doing our own things, battling our own demons, trying to do it all alone out of our own cup, And it was, I think, 2018 when we started coming to the bridge. That was kind of like a big stepping point in our journey, just finding our way back to Christ after Keaton was home and we were kind of settling into the groove. And I knew I wanted to raise my children to know that love of Jesus in their heart. I wanted them to have that relationship that I had with Jesus, where I can talk to him and go to him with all the broken pieces and my anxiety and just lay it at his feet, and to know that comfort of him saying okay, I'll help you through that. It was 2019 that I was really feeling this pull of needing and wanting to be married. And I always had this idea that marriage for me, it was going to be this big, grand, that fairy tale thing that every girl always dreams of. And in November of 2019, we found out we were pregnant again. And so that was a really big surprise, but also I felt a lot of conviction, what I know now, that God was really putting on my heart, that we were trying to set this godly example for our children, raise them in church, but we still weren't married. And we'd ultimately decided that we wanted to get married before Hagen was born.
Yes.
And then COVID happened and everything kind of came to a screeching halt. We had a ceremony planned in April for just our close, intimate family, but during that time, it was the heart of COVID, and you couldn't get more than 10 people together at a time. So we're faced with that on top of the conviction of what do we do? And so really we just prayed over it a lot and just asked God to show us what the path was for us. And he continued to show us that we just really needed to make this commitment for him in front of our family. So on April 4th of 2020, we got together and had our ceremony and became one and got married finally.
I remember after Hagen was born, Sunday seeing the bulletin and going, oh, there's a baby dedication coming up, and I'd say, hey, Mandy, we're going to dedicate Hagen. She's like, I really want to dedicate all of the children. I want, to have that opportunity.
I think we're now ready, to take that outward commitment of dedicating, our children are ours, but, they're sent to us from God. And, we want to really show not only the world, but them, that their souls are, so cherished. And, we love them so much, but also we love them enough that, we want them to know the love of Jesus. And we want them to have that experience. We want them to cultivate that relationship with Him personally, to know that they can always lean on Him. He will always be there for them, even for the big stuff, the scary stuff, whatever that may look like. He doesn't expect us to be perfect, but He's able to meet us where we are in our imperfections to continue to love us through. And we are a testament to that.
Some people in the lifestyle that you guys were living, some people go to church and feel more judged or like they're looked down upon. What made that different for you, that instead of feeling that, you felt drawn to God more? I
didn't ever feel judged. I've always said that about from whenever we started coming to the bridge, this has always felt like my home. I always just felt welcomed to come where you are, whatever that looks like for you. If that's broken, if that's messy, if that's not perfect, we still love you. Jesus still loves you, and He's going to continue to fight for you. And I just always felt that comfort and peace here. A friend of mine and I wanted to lead a small group, and I had showed interest in that. It was something I was really passionate about, so I was really motivated. And then we had actually had a conversation about how I wasn't married. We weren't married at that time, and so it was kind of just I never felt like you were talking down to me or trying to make me feel badly, but just saying that we really want to have people that are leading small groups be, either people that are married or, living a lifestyle that Jesus wants us to have. And we still continued on with that, but it still kind of played into that conviction of knowing in my heart what I was longing for, and that was honestly a godly marriage and a husband to lead our family to Christ. It was hard in the moment, during that time. That wasn't a glamorous time of our life, but it's part of our testimony. And it's proof that, God will continue to fight for you whenever you're asking Him to guide your steps along the way. He will get you there.
When we did first start coming to church, we came every Sunday, and during communion, I didn't want to be that faker. I wasn't going to go take communion if I didn't feel it in my heart.
Oh, yeah, I forgot.
So, we would get up to go to communion, and I would stay in my seat, because I didn't want to. I want to do it the right way. I want it to be the right way. I want it to be, felt in my heart. And, eventually I got right back there, and it's just so wonderful.
What's maybe one or two things that you would say have been the biggest thing that really impacted your family going through this journey?
It was honestly just kind of knowing in my heart how I wanted to raise my kids. I wanted my kids to have a different upbringing than I did, in the deep parts of their heart, and even in their broken, whatever kind of mistakes they may make, they can always go back to God, and He's always going to be there for us and help us through. And at least maybe, if say you mess up really bad, I want my kids to know that they also have parents in a corner and a Jesus in their corner that will fight for them every step of the way.